Is this thing on? Alright, in this video we're going to be covering how to reverse engineer the most profitable niche for your digital agency. So let me go ahead and share my screen so we can go ahead and jump right into it. There it is. Alright, now the goal of this training is essentially to help you identify the key criteria that will allow you to pick the best niche for your digital agency. Now, as always, if you want access to, is it this way? No, it's this way. If you want access to this training, it's 100% free. All you have to do is sub to the YouTube account, and then you can send me a DM, and I'll hand it over to you. No email, no phone number, no sacrificing your firstborn child. It's very painless to get and access to this. And if you're in SASO University, you already have access to it in the Google Drive folder. Now, very quickly, who am I and why do you care? My name is Alec. I work with GHL, marketing, automation, and creative agencies focused on local B2C clients. I own SASO Funnels, which is a done-for-you, done-with-you consultation agency where we essentially build and help operate businesses with our clients. Part of SASO Funnels is SASO University, which this is a part of, right? Essentially what I do there is I coach agencies in a group DIY, DWI setting, which is free to any of the GHL affiliates under my link, or it's $49 a month for now. It's going to be very quickly going up to $98 a month. Now, not that you care, but here are some personal results from a business of mine after just about 5 months of strictly organic traffic. So we hit about 21K in a month. Net was 19.2. And then here, those can be faked. Stripe can be faked. So here's some screenshots of just people showing that this process works. And again, I'm only showing you these to say that I know what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to talk about what I don't know. So now that that's out of the way, boring but necessary, let's get started. Niching down is not an option. And by the way, it's pronounced niche. If you say niche, I don't know if you're trying to sound cool or whatever, you're mispronouncing it. Niching down is not an option, all right? So the first thing we need to understand is the sales cycle process. Now, the sales cycle refers to the process and timeline for a business to find, close, and fulfill clients. Most solopreneurs, which typically the people who are coming with this problem are a solopreneur, so you're usually a one-man team, maybe you have a few contractors under your belt. They essentially struggle with completing one or more portions of the sales cycle efficiently. Whichever part of the process that takes the longest becomes the bottleneck that slows the business's ability down to essentially generate revenue, right? So this is a very simplified version of the sales cycle where you have the onboarding, setup, and customization, and gathering the feedback. So this is fulfillment. And then you have finding and closing leads so they become clients, where you're finding clients, you have to market your services, you have sales calls, and then you close them, and then you go here, right? So now the longer that this takes, the fulfillment cycle, the longer this takes, the less you can charge, the slower you move, and the lower your reputation. Because if you're essentially not perfecting what you're doing as you go, which we can only do by niching down, as you'll soon understand, then essentially we cannot monitor and improve the quality or the timeline in which we're able to deliver. So why does this suggest the need to niche down? Let's look at 6 versus 60. Let's consider 2 scenarios. Scenario A, I send you 6 clients and they're of 6 different niches. Or scenario B, I send you 60 clients, but they're in the exact same niche. This is like Alex Hormozy 101, if you don't know what I'm referring to, but I'll break it down, right? Which would be easier to handle? In scenario A, you have to learn 6 new industries from top to bottom to deliver results that will make an impact and allow you to retain those clients. In scenario B, you only need to master 1 niche, and then you're essentially rinsing and repeating, and you're able to leverage those case studies as you go, and you're able to improve your process as you go, and you're able to productize and templatize your process. So now you're only adjusting 10 or 20% of the project versus starting from scratch. And if you're still not convinced, go listen to great entrepreneurs who have discussed the difference between making general business content compared to making specific general content, right? The greats like Neil Patel, Alex Hormozy, Gary Vee, they will all tell you to make content specific to the pain points of your niche. This is a recurring trend amongst professionals. Even in the weightlifting aspect, even in the weightlifting world, they will tell you the higher you get, as you have those guys who start squatting and benching 800, 900 pounds, 1,000 pounds, deadlifting, right? They will tell you that the training that you have to do has to become sport specific, right? That's why football players aren't hitting baseballs, right? They're doing drills specific to it. The same goes in business. The same goes for your content. Now, when you master one niche, it becomes easier to to create content that attracts quality leads, easier to close those leads, and easier to fulfill those leads. And last time I checked, if each client pays the same, then you would essentially make 10x the money in the same amount of time that it would take for you to fulfill 6 clients across 6 different industries. And if you don't believe me, as always, I always welcome you guys to do this. Go and try it for yourself. Let me know how your sales cycle goes. Everybody who does this, because I used to be the type of person where I had to learn on my own. Everybody who does this, they go out, they fail, they come back, they go, yeah, you were right. And don't worry, I was that individual too. I was that person too who was trying to do it on my own, do it my own way. And it wasn't until I had to run into the wall a few times that I realized, let me listen to somebody who's done it before. Now let's look at establishing credibility. If you want to attract high quality leads, then you need them to view you as an authority figure, as an authoritative figure within your space. Niching down allows you to make specific content and solve specific problems. Therefore, by simply niching down as much as possible, you will actually remove 99% of your competition while resonating more with qualified leads. Now, I don't know where you come from. Where I come from, we call that a win-win. And I'll go in depth on this a little bit more, but just to give you a very quick example of what I'm referring to here is if you want to go ahead and Google marketers versus marketers for a specific niche, watch how much the difference is. Watch how it drops down. Let's look at this concept another way. What can you do faster and better? Master one niche or master 6 or even more niches, right? Remember, the goal should always be violence of action. How quickly can you attack and complete your goals without sacrificing quality? Niching down increases your efficiency in every single aspect. And now, I want to clarify, I want to actually go a little bit further in depth. You only actually lose when you avoid niching down, right? And this is the number one complaint I hear from new entrepreneurs. It's, well, if I niche down, then don't I risk losing potential leads who will want to work with me, right? Right? You're wrong. You're wrong, and I'll give you 3 reasons why you're wrong. Number 1, when you niche down, you will attract clients substantially faster because you're targeting. Your messaging is targeted. Your targeting is more clear, right? You understand the avatar you're trying to reach. If you don't niche down, then your content becomes flavorless, bland, lost in the noise of other failing entrepreneurs who are trying to cast so wide a net that they miss every single fish. And then the third thing, which I mentioned before, and I'll reiterate, show me a single successful entrepreneur who started without niching down. I'll wait. I haven't seen it yet. And here's the illustration I was referring to. So if this is you and you have no niche and you have clients coming in, I said 6 in the example, but let's look at 4. If you have niche 1, niche 2, niche 3, niche 4, anytime you land these clients, you have to start from top to bottom. And then assuming maybe you do well enough to create a case study, then that case study for niche 3, it doesn't apply to niche 2 and niche 4. So you're still having to scrape the bottom of the barrel when it comes to these clients or really trying to validate yourself, right? And then if you don't have a case study, you can't create video sales letters or VSLs. And so your marketing assets become extremely watered down. And again, even if I have a great VSL over here, it doesn't apply to niche 2, niche 1, or niche 4. However, if we focus on niche 1, we can build a case study, we can start creating strong marketing assets, we can improve as we go, and you see this little blue circle of our focus brand on this specific niche. It cuts out all this blank space of competition. So it is a win-win in every single aspect. And again, if you are the type of individual who thinks I don't need to niche down, I can probably have a pretty good guess as to what your bottom line is looking like every single month, every quarter, every year. And here's the thing, the market will demand more. So let me be clear. I'm not saying that you will never again, ever work with another industry. I'm not asking you to let me arrange your marriage, right? I'm simply saying that if you want to ethically make as much money as fast as possible, then you need to niche down. Now, the market will demand more because as you create results for your clients and grow your business, people will approach you and say, hey, I'm not exactly your target audience, but can you get those results in my business? This happens all the time without fail. And I will go back to the previous illustration to demonstrate. As people learn of your success, they will want you to help them replicate those results in their business. Again, this is going to require you to first get some clients' wins under your belt. And let me also clarify that you do not need to expand who you work with. So people might come to you and say, hey, you work with plumbers, I'm an electrician, will you work with me? You work with lawyers, I'm a doctor, will you work with me? You do not have to say yes, okay? It is just an indicator that you can potentially start expanding who you work with when they come to you. If you do want to expand, use this method. Number 1, start small to minimize competition, niche down. Number two, increase how general you go as you master each level. So as different industries come to you and asking for help, then you can start pivoting your content more and more general, only because now you have that audience already established. As you level up, use your past experience to validate why you're ready to work with more people, right? So you can say, hey, we crushed in this industry, therefore your industry is closer, or your industry is closer, therefore we could get similar results in your industry. And then slowly master the different niches with every level up as the market requests. And the market will request it as people come to you. And so let's go back up to this illustration right here. And so what's going to happen is as you master niche one, let's say niche one is lawn care. Niche two might be landscapers. They go, well, hey, you're helping them. We're very close. Could you help me too? Niche three might be pool installers. And they're like, well, hey, that's pretty close. Can we do that? Niche four might be construction. They're like, well, hey, we're pretty close. Can you do that? And so what you'll see is that your brand will expand as the market tells you to expand. If you try to tell the market, I'm expanding, it's not going to work. If the market tells you, hey, we want you to expand, then you can pick between expanding or not expanding. But again, I'm trying to really hone in on the concept that if you do want to go general, you still have to start with niching down. Now, how do we actually select our niche now that we understand the importance of niching down? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to actually debunk the concept of a perfect niche. There is no such thing as the perfect niche. It does not exist. So you have to get that concept out of your head. Instead, you need to find the perfect niche for you. And I know that sounds extremely corny. I will explain, don't worry, but that is essentially what this training covers. Selecting the niche is one of the hardest things for some people to do. So by the end of this training, you will understand how to select the most profitable niche for your business. Everything stems from the niche selection. So do not skip this part of the process. Do not take it lightly. Do not rush through it. You need to focus on building a business, not a side hustle. Even if it starts out time-wise and financially as a side hustle, the goal should be building a business. Now, building your business in the proper order will ensure that you can build it as fast as possible. And the speed at which you can complete each task will determine how fast you start earning and the speed at which you earn, right? This is compressing the entire process. In that case, we need to take the most logical and efficient approach to choosing our niche. We need to reverse engineer our niche selection based on key factors that will determine your success. Now, choosing the best niche for your digital agency doesn't happen by accident. It happens by carefully considering key considerations that will ensure you never ever run out of leads. Now, while working with an industry you enjoy will help you on your journey, it should not dictate what you do entirely. So here are the key factors to consider when selecting your niche. First, let's cover business types. Number one, service versus products. I will always advise my clients and students to work in the service space. Service-based businesses have higher profit margins, think 50 to 100% versus 10 to 25%. Service providers can create a unique selling proposition much easier, which means easier marketing, and require niche software and solutions, allowing you to charge higher ticket prices when you are offering niche software and solutions, right? And so here's a little graph. Super simple illustration. Product profit margins, they stay down here. Service profit margins, they stay up here. You're not always going to see 100% profit margins, but what you can see is you will see, depending on how large the team size is and the digital assets and the overhead. For me, I'm operating pretty close to 90%, and I have had 100% profit deals when I was starting out. So these numbers are not remotely imaginary. Next, let's look at B to B to C versus B to B to B. What does that mean? Well, when you're selecting the service-based businesses to work with, you have to understand who they service. So you are always going to be B to B, but we have to understand who they are. Are they B to B or are they B to C? So if you work as a B to B to C provider, bear with me, that means you will work with businesses who work with clients, with consumers, with individuals. Think of a blue-collar worker like a plumber or a landscaper who goes to a client's residence to provide a service. These businesses rely on more clients, they have higher profit margins, but the ticket size is usually smaller. Next, if you work as a B2B2B provider, that means you work with businesses that work with businesses as their clients. So think of a lawyer who represents a corporate entity or a marketing agency for recruiters. These businesses rely on fewer clients. However, they're higher dollar amounts, but more work and lower margins typically. Now, both industries have pros and cons. However, if you want to start and scale as fast as possible, then what I would advise is for you to work as a B2B2C provider more often than not. This allows you more potential clients and the ability to create SaaS offers or SWAS offers with minimal hands-on support. Regardless, I wouldn't stress this portion too much. I just want to make sure that you understand who your clients serve essentially impacts you. So that will also allow you to set clear expectations. Now, this is a really important one. Service area. And this kind of trickles from the B to B to C versus B to B to B. I know I've said a lot of B's and C's. Don't worry, I'm done with that. But essentially, who your client service will determine who they compete with. Who they compete with will dictate the total number of clients you can service. Let me explain. If you work with a client that services the entire United States, how many agencies can you work with before your clients compete? Well, you can only work with one, because if you work with two national service providers, they're cannibalizing each other. Your clients are cannibalizing each other, right? Because they're serving the same area. They're fighting for the same clients. If you work with a client that services different regions, then how many agencies can you work with before your clients compete or start cannibalizing each other? Probably between 5 and 7, depending on how you split up, at the very least, the United States. If you're in a different country, then you'd have to look at how many regions you have, right? If you work with a client that services different states, then how many agencies can you work with before your clients compete? Right, 48 to 50, right, depending on if you're doing the continental United States or the full 50 states. Even if you're getting into like the territories, right, it gets even more, right? Now, if you work with a client that services different cities, now how many agencies can you work with before your clients compete? And this is where you see the number drastically increase, and you're looking at over 20K, right? Because think about how many cities there are in the United States, in your state, in your country, wherever you are, right? If you service somebody who only services that city, then all of a sudden you can have a tremendous amount of clients at a reasonable price point, and they're not going to cannibalize each other. And so here's just an illustration, right? If you look at this soft blue, that's one client, because you can't have two servicing. If you're looking at regions, then you're getting 5 to 7. But if you're looking at cities, and this does not map every city, so don't comment below like, well, there's that's not where the cities are. Congratulations. But if you service all the cities, then all of a sudden you can see the difference in client type, right? Now, obviously, I'm not saying you have to go with the cities. You can still go with the regions. Just make sure the price point reflects that. Now, at the same time, if you target clients that are too small or too new, then helping them get results becomes drastically more difficult. Most of the time, the reason that they are a smaller, struggling business, usually it results from a lack of their business acumen or their inability to listen to others. I've coached probably close to 1,000 agencies, giving them the same advice for free that I charge some people quite a bit of money for. And it never fails to surprise me how many people will get free business advice that professionals use to scale their business, and they just kind of ignore it and they keep doing what they're doing. And then they wonder why their business is failing. They're making less than 50K a year. It's like mind-boggling to me, right? Now, these will make for excellent case studies if you're able to scale them from the ground up, but they are going to require you to work with quite a few low-quality clients before you essentially find the winners. Now, the next thing we want to consider is the evergreen marketability. So we need to consider demand and marketability, right? Demand simply refers to how often the market requests certain services. Certain services are evergreen, meaning that they will last for a very long time. People will request them consistently throughout time. Marketability simply refers to how easily you can promote an industry or an offer. When you market something, you're attempting to create demand for your offer. So we need to consider markets that either have inherent demand, they're evergreen, or markets in which we can create demand, marketability. So some examples: doctors, lawyers, accountants, lawn care, landscaping, HVAC, mechanics, insurance, videographers, photographers, etc. These are industries in which they have inherent demand because people will always want them, and we can also create marketability, right? We can create a leverage, a unique selling proposition, right? Alternatively, we need to stay away from industries with poor marketability. For example, promoting home inspectors and windshield repair is incredibly difficult because home inspectors, depending on if their affiliation with whatever organization they're part of, they actually cannot market certain ways. Windshield repair, people are only repairing their windshield if they break them. So unless you're going to go around breaking the windshield at night in the criminal outfit and then switching to the hero outfit and then offering to fix it, I really don't see how you can market windshields aside from being ready for a phone call, right? And the last thing that we want to consider is you. So now that we understand the general approach to selecting a niche, which is we want to go service over product, understanding B2B to C versus B2B to B, understanding their service area, and understanding their evergreen marketability, now we need to look at you, right? So let's consider the variable in this niche, and that is you, right? The rest is pretty clear to a degree, right? We've limited it down. We've removed quite a few bad options. We've centered it down on some good ones. Now we need to look at you, right? And again, you need violence of action if you want to start and scale as quickly as possible. That means we need to consider the fastest avenue to establishing credibility within a qualifying niche. So discovering the niche, that you closest resonates to now becomes the challenge. We have to understand, cool, I have these factors. Now to actually pick the specific niche I want to go in, I need to look at me, and that will pick the specific niche. And we can approach, or I keep saying the CH like that, we can approach selecting a niche a few different ways. Regardless, the intention should always be the exact same, to select an industry that you understand on a fundamental level. And what you're going to look at is, do you understand it already, or how quickly can you understand it? And this allows you to resonate with your ideal avatar much faster, meaning you'll land clients much easier, ergo much faster. Now, we select only one niche, not an industry. I'm going to elaborate. So we can craft and perfect one claim, one funnel, and one digital presence. And again, if you're still thinking like, well, maybe I'm going to go all of blue collar versus just HVAC versus just plumbing versus just electricians versus just this. If you think I'm going to do all of that, if most companies are struggling to find clients for only one niche, what makes you think as a beginner or even an intermediate or advanced who doesn't have a full corporation behind them, what makes you think that you can do this for multiple, right? We have to be realistic. And again, if you do not believe me, I implore you to try it out and let me know how it goes. And I truly hope that you prove me wrong. I truly hope for your own success. However, I just haven't seen it. So let's look at these different metrics, right? Past experience. If you have any direct past experience, I would recommend considering that niche. More than likely, if you worked as a lawn care provider, then you understand lawn care. If you worked as a plumber, then you understand plumbing. If you worked with accountants, marketers, photographers, etc., then you understand the language they speak. When you speak the same language, you can not only understand the client, but you can make them feel understood. And this is a major component of effective marketing, sales, and closing. Not to mention, you most likely, if you ever worked in those industries, you most likely had several ideas when you worked for someone else. Ideas on how to do things more effectively, efficiently, and affordably. Now, you can implement those ideas in their businesses and establish yourself as an expert very quickly when you do so. Even your past education, whether it's college education, trade education, an apprenticeship, right, can factor into choosing a niche. It gives you enough of a background to now resonate with your target audience, right? We're trying to speak the same language. Now, let's look at businesses of friends and family, because I see this all the time. Let's say you have indirect experience, like maybe you grew up around friends or families that own businesses. While you may not have understood them as deeply as you would a business that you worked for, you'll know enough to get started, right? You can even interview or work with those individuals to build a case study. So if you grew up and your dad was in construction the whole time, you probably speak a little construction. If you grew up and your mom was a doctor, you probably speak a little doctor, right? And for me, one of my first students actually worked with his parents in their pharmacy, and he made them, it was crazy. He did like a database reactivation. He made them like $1,400 in under 2 hours when we actually picked his niche. And in the whole weekend, he made them $2,800. And over the whole week, he made them over $7K, right? And if you are in SASO University, you can actually find his post on it too. It was awesome, right? So how happy do you think his family was? How powerful do you think that case study was for him starting out, right? Super powerful. Now, another thing you can do is you can actually start and own your own business. Now, this is a super unique approach. You can essentially build the very business that you want to coach. So, for example, again, going back to lawn care, you can build a lawn care business to establish credibility while learning the industry in a way where you can make money. You can do this with any business. Build it, master it, and then you can exit and coach others who do the same. I have two students actually who do this with they did this with pressure washing. They did pressure washing business for a summer. They mastered it. Then they sold the business and they started coaching others on it. And it was super, super effective in building credibility. Now, this is definitely a long game approach, but it can also be used to scale super efficiently if you have lots of free time, right? Think about it if you're a student with summers off. Think about if you're a teacher with summers off, right? It's kind of free time, right? It's also super effective if you aren't 100% on starting a digital agency. Maybe you just want to start a business in general. You can always start something that has inherent demand. Take a marketing, creative, automation approach to it, and then from there you can actually transition, right? Now, whatever works for you, you then use to scale others in the same industry. Whatever doesn't work for you, you can then warn others to avoid it, which again will further establish your credibility. Now, this method is extremely effective for blue-collar businesses specifically because those avatars typically only trust people that they can heavily relate to. And then the last factor to consider, your personality. One of the most impactful considerations is your personality. When I work with clients, I look at two main factors, and that's going to be personality type and the type of content that you feel comfortable promoting. So if you're nerdy, consider working with accountants, lawyers, SEO, etc. If you're deeply American and patriotic, consider blue collar industries. So you kind of get the idea, right? Matching your personality type will allow you to leverage who you are with who you want to work with. And so you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Furthermore, make sure that you would confidently make content for whatever industry you select, because you'll need to own the industry through and through. You have to claim it as your own. So if you are not comfortable slapping your name on content type, if you don't want to go out and make content on lawn care, if you don't want to make content on promoting SEO agencies, if you don't want to make content on promoting OnlyFans management, I had somebody reach out to me about this. It was like absolutely wild. But if you have somebody, if you're not confident in making content on owning that industry, don't even consider it. Okay. Now, once you select your niche, you'll do some research and hypothesizing essentially to create your offer, which is from where your antithetical claim will stem. And I'll have another training on that later. So now you need to start right now. Okay. So at the end of the day, pick the niche that you can master the fastest and begin. Just begin. Selecting your niche, it probably is one of the #1 factors that I've seen hold back the most amount of people, and yet it requires the least amount of thought. I've given you all the metrics to consider. As long as you have that industry that qualifies, pick one and go. If you have narrowed it down based off all these items, close your eyes, pick one, put it in a random number generator, pick one, right? Overthinking the niche selection is a common stumbling block. The emphasis is on you taking decisive action to initiate the journey promptly. Use these categories, use these metrics, use this criteria that I've given you to determine what is the best for you. And at the end of the day, choose the one that meets this criteria and start. Now, next steps, you can do this alone. As I've shown you, it's already extremely challenging, or you can always work with me. Now, if you work with me, we're going to be able to get results much faster and much quicker than if you were to do it alone. You'll be able to get your case studies faster. You'll have higher quality case studies. You'll be able to get the exact script and frameworks for your social media content, DM, sales calls, and you'll be able to create a protocol that allows you to scale up while retaining previous customers. So this is my program, SASO University, and so if you want, you can always join as a Go High Level affiliate, which will be 100% free, and I will guide you on building your entire funnel and social media strategy via 2 one-on-one onboarding calls and a group coaching environment. You get access to the full antithetical market offer and the $0 client acquisition model process with handheld support in our very exclusive community. You also get free website and funnel review via Loom videos to help you build high converting landing page from the very beginning. You get immediate access to free trainings released centered on client acquisition, scaling, fulfillment, optimization, and much more. We also have 90-minute group coaching calls every single week that help keep you on track. Plus, we are going to help you scale in those calls. And very soon we have 2 of those calls coming a week, every single week. You also learn how to streamline and automate businesses using Six Sigma practices tailored to local service-based businesses. We have a local SEO course, so you can actually learn how to promote the businesses you work with, getting them more traffic, and that's coming early 2024. And you will get a full SOP on how to automate your own agency so you can work less than 3 hours a day once your business replaces your full-time job. I only work with SASO University and SASO Funnels. I'm only working about 1 to 2 hours a day on this. And so there's a link right here if you want to join SASO University. And as always, if you want this document, or if you just want to set up a call, hit me up on Facebook or Instagram at Alec J. Roy. Appreciate you watching. As always, any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out.